Good evening. Welcome once again to OCDTV. Today's our Halloween special. The best and worst of movie monsters and aliens. To my right, a man who needs no introduction. And to his right, joining us once again, Brian Collins.
If you are our one viewer, you already know who I am.
Okay. So we've come up with a list. We've done a totally non-scientific study of a sampling of our immediate peer group who managed to take the time to answer the question on Facebook. So thank you for everyone who did. We're going to start with our worst list of movie monsters. Coming in at number 5 is the Sci-Fi Channel's Collective Crap Factory. So essentially everything that they're going to do next, like Sharknado, or I don't know, when they make Kittysaurus Rex, I'm probably going to kill myself.
What are you talking about, man? Wake me up when they make Kittysaurus Rex.
This is what I'm talking about. You're a part of the problem, not the solution.
But that would be so awesome. A giant kitten just like smashing everything. You got cute and horrifying at the same time. Everybody, how kitten videos on the internet? Come on.
But are there cat Tyrannosaurus videos on the internet?
Well, no, but that's why it'd be so awesome.
I will say though, where in the world are they going to find the special effects budget to make a cheeseburger big enough to tame that thing?
Icon has cheeseburger?
You
Moving
can.
on. Coming in at number 4, Poodle Hulk from Ang Lee's completely misdirected misfire. The 2002 film version of Hulk. In a movie, they managed to make Nick Nolte look good in a film where he looks like he stumbled out of a car followed by a trail of empty Schlitz cans. I mean, you can say, let me gather my thoughts. There are a lot of terrible things to say about the 2002 Hulk. A lot of terrible things to say, from the special effects to the art direction, to hiring a heavy-headed art house snob to direct the film. But I think we all sort of heard the collective groan from everyone in the audience when we saw the Hulk dogs. And the poodle dog ran up with its poofy pink poodle Hulk muscles. I think there's
I think that the Poodle Hulk is probably the only redeeming quality of that movie.
Nice save. You bailed me out there.
Well, sometimes you just need a cute animal.
That's true.
That's
Again,
true.
Going for cute.
Was it cute?
No, it wasn't.
I mean, it had Jennifer Connelly.
Well, that's actually the only redeeming quality of that whole movie.
Yeah, I could see that.
No, General Ross's mustache. I mean, that
Well, the love stash is pretty impressive.
yeah, we gotta do that. That's why I'm sporting it today. No, I'm not. I'm
No,
sporting the
Don't
mustache because of that movie.
Don't go there.
Number 3. Excuse me. Number 3.
An abomination.
Number 3 is something I think everybody hates, and that, of course, is this turd burger right here, the American Godzilla.
Gino.
Otherwise known in the fandom as Gino, or Godzilla in name only.
Giant lizard.
And here's sort of another example of completely overthinking a concept. You had something that already worked with an embedded fan base, and you decided to reimagine it for modern audiences, when modern audiences probably weren't interested in seeing it in the first place. It's a giant lizard that steps on things. It's not that hard to figure out. For 40 years, they had already been doing it right. And so they took everything that was interesting about the character and they threw it right out the window and just made it a big, pregnant, lizard, hot-breathed thing that can't crush a taxi cab in its jaws.
Well, first of all, there's so many things I could say about this horrible, horrible movie, and obviously the monster that goes along with it. First of all, being a Godzilla fan of the Japanese version of the movies, where was the radioactive breath. I mean, that's like a Godzilla staple.
Yeah, that was the payout. They left that out. We were waiting the entire movie.
I wanted to see him breathe fire.
Literally everybody who had watched a Godzilla movie in their entire life prior to that point was expecting to see
fire
that
breath.
happen.
I think that might explain why J.J. Abrams felt Cloverfield had to be made.
That's right. Cloverfield was the apology for the American Godzilla.
Yeah, well, why would J.J. Abrams be apologizing for Roland Emmerich?
Why not?
I think actually the issue was
He's apologizing for America.
I think I think in the end Roland Emmerich was just upset he couldn't blow up the White House in this one.
You mean I have to stay here in New York? This is not right.
I know. I think that's why he's the size he is. I would think is effectively, the plan was to have him sit on the White House. I think,
Yeah,
or her or she. I don't know.
Whatever.
I don't know.
Yeah, Washington's kind of a low-slung city. Godzilla stomping through Washington would be kind of boring.
That might be more disastrous. I mean, at least they knocked down Madison Square Garden.
That's true.
Yeah.
We don't have to watch the Knicks anymore.
Who's watching the Knicks? So.
Nobody.
Number 2, The Happening. From M. Night Shyamalan's The Happening.
The wind blows, terrible things happen, operative word, blows.
It's a perfect example of a movie where you're expecting some sort of payout in the end and there isn't one. There's no payout. The wind blows, people commit suicide, and then in the end, the people you're most worried about don't. So that's good, I guess.
Well, it's Shyamalan. I mean, we all figured out that. I probably didn't really take long to figure out he only had 2 good movies in him.
Yeah, I mean the career trajectory of M. Night Shyamalan as a director. What I can't figure out is how he keeps getting people to bankroll his films.
Yeah.
He's got pictures.
I mean, each one gets progressively worse.
At least Uwe Boll has the excuse that people will fund his stuff as a tax dodge.
I guess
he's got pictures,
and he does it on the cheap. But yeah, no, I mean.
Was it like the producers where they figure out you can make more money on a bomb than a hit?
Springtime for Godzilla.
That's right. Thank you.
I think that the only reason After Earth got made was the involvement of Will Smith.
Oh,
Which,
yeah.
and again, okay, you take a director, only M. Night Shyamalan could take a movie starring one of the most beloved actors of his generation with his, tween-age son, whom, he's been grooming to become an actor and take his place, I guess, as the king of acting, and make it terrible. How do you have Will Smith in a movie about, fighting space monsters?
Basically.
And it suck.
But they're not space monsters. They're on Earth, remember?
Well, no, they're being chased by this space monster thing that follows them, and they can't see. They see your fear, and they practices. I don't know. Somebody tied it in with Scientology. I didn't see it.
Oh, that was that.
Apparently, it was supposed to be about that, or maybe it wasn't about that. The point was, it was crap.
M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shamalama Ding Dong.
Yeah. No, it's I can't. Well, we'll get to him in a minute
There's
because he
more.
shows up twice on the list.
There's more. But wait, there's more.
But the number 1 worst monster ever.
Ever?
Ever. The worst monster in the history of ever.
Wow.
Sparkling vampires from Twilight.
Oh. Sparkle vamps.
Sparkle vamps.
All right. I've had this argument with my wife, okay? Vampires are supposed to burn to death in the sunlight. Simple. That's, everybody knows that.
It would fix it if the sparkles were just white phosphorus,
Yeah, and then they'd burn and be cool.
I think the issue I have with it is you took away the drawback to being a vampire.
Well, all the drawbacks.
There's no downside to being a vampire in Twilight.
Zero.
No, it really, and just my opinion, Stephanie Meyer started out writing Anne Rice fan fiction.
I think
she started with the question, "What if Lestat was my boyfriend?"
So
and he was saving himself for marriage with me.
Does that make 50 Shades fan fiction twice over?
Yes.
Yes.
Look, you're not going to find a lot of praise for Stephanie Meyer amongst her peers.
Yeah.
So I feel comfortable trashing her despite the fact that I've never written a novel. However, the author of 50 Shades of Grey, I would actually commend for making for not even pretending and just coming right out with fan fiction and somebody saying, no, this is good enough, just change the names. At least she was honest about it.
Yep.
Well, I know. People like Dan Savage might not think it's good enough, but that's another discussion entirely. That's way off topic.
Wow, the camera really adds 5 pounds. Look at this. It's Captain
No,
Kirk,
that's
Denny Crane. Captain Kirk, Denny Crane. Sorry, got
backwards.
distracted there.
You were backwards,
What?
man.
Denny Crane? What? I don't know.
You did it backwards.
Well, now the joke's ruined.
Yeah.
People
Typical.
just would have laughed at it.
Typical. Typical Steve.
I blame Obamacare.
Of course.
Our best monster list. Number 5, Freddy Krueger.
Ooh.
I don't know if he actually does. He do this? I don't
He
think
does
that's
this
the thing.
cool thing with his
kind of,
hands
I
and the
guess.
knives. And
I think so. In a genre of films ubiquitous around Halloween and summertime, the teen slasher film, which Roger Ebert referred to them as dead teenager movies, where essentially you just kill off, each character one by one and leave one left alive to populate the sequel. Freddy Krueger stands out as being the antagonist in what is the most memorable and what I think is the most imaginative of any of those series. I mean, Jason, Michael Myers, they're just big, lumbering zombie monsters in a mask, chasing after kids with an axe. Freddy Krueger came up with these really creative ways to kill the teenagers. And I think by about halfway through the series, we're effectively all rooting for Freddy.
well, it started out. I think like in the first Nightmare on Elm Street, it wasn't all that creative. He progressively got more creative in ways to kill people.
Oh, no, I understand that.
As the movies went along,
Well,
particularly in Nightmare on Elm Street 3.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but that first film, though, the blood fountain coming out of the bed,
Yeah,
I mean,
that was cool.
that was good stuff. The kid gets pulled in, or the girl being thrown around the room while she's being. I mean, this was stuff. I mean, these were practical effects. It was like the height of technology at the time. Every time somebody had to be morphed into some weird thing, like a cockroach, they'd come up with costume and makeup for that.
Yeah.
And I think from the standpoint of a film fan or a special effects fan, it's
That's
really,
pretty
really, I think, influential in terms of how
I
that
think
carried over.
I forget where I saw it, but somewhere some BuzzFeed-like site was talking about these sort of things and mentioned the blood fountain thing, and it's like one of the things that makes it work is you have absolutely no idea what's going on down there.
Yeah.
Right.
There's really, I mean, it's not spatter, it's just spew.
Yeah, just
And it's scary and it's memorable. And Freddy as an image is memorable. He's got the sweater, the burnt face, the claws, hands. I mean, it's just, he's iconic, I think, in a way that dominates his competitors. Yeah. Number 4, Pennywise. Because scary clowns are scary.
that's it.
Can't sleep, clown
We're
will
done.
eat me. Can't sleep, clown will eat me. Can't sleep, clown will eat me. Can't sleep, clown will eat
I'm
me.
not talking about the clown.
We're talking about the clown.
I can't talk about the clown.
We're talking about the clown.
Can make me
Talk
talk about the clown.
Because the only way to make scary clowns scarier was to make Tim Curry one.
Yes.
The giant spider monster from the end, not so scary. The clown, tricking kids into the sewer.
Clowns are terrifying.
Exactly.
You know that? I know that.
We're all terrified of clowns.
That's
Just-
the joy of the uncanny valley.
Exactly. It's from a distance, when you're watching them tumble in the center ring at a 3-ring circus. I don't know if they still have those. I remember going to one as a child and wondering when it would be over. But I remember sitting close to where they were coming in and out, and as the clowns were running past, I saw them, like, the sweat was melting the makeup off their faces. And, it must have been not a very high budget circus. I guess.
Spoils the fun.
But I can't imagine an instance where a clown made me laugh and didn't freak me out, with the possible exception of Krusty from The Simpsons. But
Yep.
that's of course done in tongue in cheek.
Of course.
Well, Krusty's kind of a deconstruction anyway.
Well, yeah, exactly. So I mean, he's you know what it is. Krusty's you can empathize with Krusty. No other clowns.
No other clowns.
Which of course you're a reference to The Simpsons a moment ago.
Clowns are not human.
Yes, no, they're scary. And we touched nothing on Pennywise in this discussion.
No, we just talked about clowns.
We're just talking about scary clowns.
Because he's just representative
well,
of
that's
every
what I'm
clown.
thinking. Like, you can't do it again.
He's just representative of all clowns.
Here's the thing about Stephen King is atmosphere.
Yes.
Sometimes the payout isn't always that great.
No.
But all of the most successful adaptations of Stephen King's work have captured that atmosphere.
Yeah.
There's a mystery. You've got a group of kids that are sort of interlinked. Especially the nonlinear narrative.
Well, Stephen King is the writer that Lovecraft wished he was, which is ironic given how much Stephen King owes to Lovecraft.
Yeah, I kind of wonder about that because like a lot of those concepts from Lovecraft don't really translate as scary anymore because living in more enlightened times where people aren't as freaked out by the concept of some otherworldly monster from another planet. This is, we've got the Rancor right there. There he is. Who gets an honorable mention? He's not on the list. He gets an honorable mention, but didn't make it because we all expected Lucas to clear up the matte lines for the special edition Return of the Jedi, and he didn't. And so that was really jarring, and so we want to punish him for that.
Throw him off.
But yet, plus, I mean, there are things in the universe that actually exist that would make Cthulhu crap his pants.
Well,
so I mean,
that's. But we these are the things that keep you up at night if you're a nerd and you think about this stuff.
yes.
But yeah, I mean, Cthulhu, that sort of otherworldly, monstrous being, definitely sticks with us. But I wonder, as Lovecraft's work has become less or not as scary to modern audiences, will Stephen King's work eventually be diluted? I don't think so. I don't think so. I think he captures those atmosphere. I mean, The Shining still scares the crap out of me.
Well, don't forget too. You have the whole.
Still not talking about Pennywise.
When,
We're avoiding the clouds.
We're avoiding the clouds
because that's what it's all about.
Destroy us
It's too
all,
scary.
destroy
We don't
us
want to talk about the clouds.
But yeah, one of the things I spent way too much time on TV tropes, as you do, and
yes, the TV tropes hyperlink rabbit hole.
And they have this one thing, and Seinfeld is unfunny, and that's the kind of thing where you hear about something and it's hyped. You go back and watch it, and what's so special about it? What you're missing is that was where all this stuff now came from.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. It's like trying to show my kid The Matrix.
Yeah.
It's like literally every movie after that borrowed from it, so it's not as impressive.
Right.
It's not like a lot, so yeah, you got a point. So yeah, that's why this holds up. That's why I think Scary Clowns are still scary. I mean, it was low budget, it was made for TV.
Yeah.
You had to rely on atmosphere and interactions and dialogue and that sort of thing.
And the other thing is things that are slightly off. Like I said, Uncanny Valley. That'll always freak people out.
I think that's why clowns are there. I mean, there was a time maybe in the 19th century where that was popular. For whatever reason, I don't know, linked to the circus coming to town and things like that. But of course, we're going to talk about scary circuses. We can get into Something Wicked This Way Comes, and
Right.
That just
that sort of
destroys the whole thing. But still not talking about clown. Moving on, number 3 on our best monsters list, and Keith's going to take issue with position Godzilla.
Travesty.
The real Godzilla. The original Japanese sweaty guy in a rubber suit knocking down model buildings, Godzilla.
Purity. There's something just pure about that.
Well, we touched on that in the last episode too, I think, or was that 2 episodes ago?
It might have been 2.
I don't remember.
Yeah,
Well,
we talked about that.
We got into Godzilla and just
the kaiju episode.
well, I think in terms of like, okay, Godzilla created a genre of film.
Yeah.
Right.
Because what can you call that? I mean, I suppose at the time in 1954, that was really scary to a Japanese audience.
Yeah.
But as it progressed, I mean, the scariness was gone. It wasn't really a horror film anymore.
Yeah. Well, it's don't forget. I mean, at the time, it spoke to some very primal and very specifically Japanese fears.
Right.
I mean, Hiroshima and Nagasaki had only been 9 years before that.
Right.
And that was the whole motivation for mutating Godzilla into what it became.
So if not for the Manhattan Project, we wouldn't have this entire genre of film. So you see, nuclear power is good.
That's right.
Still have to clean it up.
Yeah. Well,
So that
subject for another episode.
True.
that's part of my reasoning why I think he should be actually higher on the list, is the fact that of the cultural significance and all that sort of thing, and the fact that he's just a 300-foot tall giant lizard who breathes fire. Hello.
We had a small sample size.
Who had, yes, we had a very small sample. Yeah, who has a pop song written about him, who's numbers and numbers of movies. He's an
Yeah, well,
icon.
yeah,
He
but
is an
Yeah,
icon.
but in that entire thread on Facebook, when we asked, he was only mentioned by you once, and that was it.
Well,
The coalition, you didn't build the coalition.
Because that's
the
all that
opposition
needed to
split
happen.
the ticket.
That's all that needed to happen.
They-
I just had to
only
mention it
according to
once.
you.
I mean, it speaks for itself. It's Godzilla.
You're wrong.
I'm not
He
wrong.
needed to be mentioned more. You should have paid more attention. You should have campaigned.
Damn it, I'm not wrong.
You lost this one, kid. Doesn't mean you have to like it. Yes, we rehearsed that.
Hey, now you blew the joke.
There's a second joke to it.
All right.
Oh, are we going to upset the sponsors? Is that, or maybe our financial backer? Is somebody going to?
Money? There's
I don't
money
know.
behind this?
I'm sorry. Is there someone to upset by exposing our jokes, which admittedly are terrible?
No, there isn't.
Oh.
All right, number 2. George Romero's Zombies from Night of the Living Dead, its sequels, and the numerous films, television, comic books, video games that have been ripping him off ever since.
Again, that's why I also think that this one could also be higher on the list just for the cultural significance. But
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, but that's how our voting.
but you know, it's a
think-
subjective list.
I mean, let's. I mean, The Walking Dead premieres this
Yeah,
Sunday.
exactly.
With
And everyone will be
fourth
watching it.
season. I don't even like zombies, and I watch that show.
Right.
Well, the thing about zombies, too, that's another really primal one. People are deathly afraid of losing their identity.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's exactly what happens to
Well,
a zombie.
And speaking to a darker aspect of the psychology, like people want an enemy that it's okay to destroy. Zombies are completely amoral. They don't think. They don't reason. They don't know right from wrong. They're just monsters, and they spread and they reproduce. And there's been so many monsters in fiction that have been similar to that in science fiction. The Cybermen, the Borg, the bugs in Starship Troopers. These are all examples of that kind of enemy.
Well,
that
another
it's unstoppable, it's amoral, and
another
it spreads. And
terrifying
destroys.
thing about zombies in the sense of, you know, from that, the idea is that when people start turning into zombies, you know, they're your friends, your loved ones.
Yeah,
You know, and all of a sudden you're faced with having to destroy them. You know.
Look, all I'm saying is, come the zombie apocalypse, I'm taking everybody out who wronged me, zombie or not.
Well, then you have an excuse.
No, exactly. I know.
He was a zombie. No, he wasn't. But he's going to become one anyway.
He was a liability. Had to cap him.
Add about scapping him.
I'm not going to last long.
Well, it depends.
I don't have to outrun the zombie. I just have to
Whoa,
outrun
wait
you.
a minute. Nerds are more prepared for the zombie apocalypse than anybody else.
That's true.
We're gonna know everything. Like, we're gonna be able to figure out, like, right away which kind of zombies we're dealing with. You know, are they shot to the head zombies, or are they more complicated? Do we have to chop them up? I mean, do the hands keep crawling by themselves if separated from the rest of the body? These are concerns that we're going to be looking for.
I'm pretty sure that's another entry on the list.
Double tap.
You mean just the crawling hand?
Yeah.
Speaking of the list, and we're coming down to our number 1 slot, which won a plurality of the votes, I think, just out of sheer awe and awesomeness.
7 seconds of screen time.
7 seconds of screen time that represented, I think, the culmination of
Killed by a
something a
wrinkly
lot.
old man.
I think a lot. He was a wizard.
A wizard did it.
It's the Balrog, ladies and gentlemen.
Who should not be ahead of Godzilla by any stretch of the imagination.
Well, I think the reason why he tops the list is well, there are a couple of reasons.
Pure coolness.
And I mean, pure coolness. I mean, just look at him. I mean, and this is essentially. I mean, what he is. He's a demon. He's a devil.
Yeah.
This is what you would expect.
Which is why,
This is
all
what-
kidding aside,
Yeah.
I could see him up at the top just for the fact
It's-
of the demonic.
This is Tolkien borrowing from Dante. You know, this is what everybody thinks when they think of a demon.
Yep.
This has been ripped off so many times in other forms of
Everything.
fiction and everything else is something that, you know, and even just the way he's described in the novel is this is pretty close, but it's not too specific.
Yeah.
Right.
But this is what everyone imagined
Right.
when they thought of that. And I think seeing the Balrog fully realized as a special effect in a faithful adaptation of a novel series that was once thought unfilmable, you're looking at why Game of Thrones is on TV right now. and so I think once that was mentioned in the thread, I think people sort of started glomming onto why he wins out, despite only being on for a few minutes and falling off a bridge.
And everybody's copied Tolkien ever since.
Well, yeah. I mean, elves.
Still not as cool as Godzilla.
What's funny is and everybody says you can't hold yourself up like the way Gandalf was sort of dangling from the precipice with just his fingertips, and people argued that you can't do that. That's impossible. And to anybody who thinks that's impossible, I want you to go on YouTube right now and start watching some parkour videos. Because I have seen guys catch themselves on concrete, banisters just by the fingertips.
And free climbers use even less than that.
Yeah, no, it's pretty amazing.
Then again, free climbers are insane.
What that has to do with our topic, I'm not sure. But
nothing.
I mean, parkour is awesome. I just want to say that. We'll talk about that sometime. Maybe when we cover the Assassin's Creed video game series.
Gandalf didn't need to climb.
No, you would think as this sort of angelic wizard super being, he'd have some sort of flying ability, but that was stretching the premise, I guess.
Yeah, I don't think they ever answered that anyway.
Moving on to our worst alien list.
Wow, on to the aliens.
Number 5.
I'm not an alien.
Now I'm going to ram my ovipositor down your throat and lay my eggs in your chest, but I'm not an alien. To the 4 people who got that joke, that was a reference to Mystery Science Theater 3000, which leads into our number 5 entry on the list, Trumpy from Pod People, who can do stupid things. And the reason he makes it onto the list is we all felt that some mention of Mystery Science Theater 3000
had to be on the list.
Had to be on the list, because this is a series that these would be movies nobody would watch unless you were up really late at night, watching creature double features and stuff like that. I mean, they did Godzilla films and things like that, but some of these movies were so terrible. I mean, a lot of those full moon movies from the 90s, like the bad full moon movies, like not Puppet Master, stuff that was worse than Puppet Master.
Forget Trumpy, how about the mutant?
You see, I vetoed that because at the time, that was really good. That was really impressive in 1955 or 56, I think. When I mean, there was a lot of objections to the inclusion
of actually using that movie.
There are a lot of objections to using
because
something that was considered
really
a classic and a good movie. And there are certain people, including Jamie, our faithful director, who seems to object to the cast from Mystery Science Theater using riff tracks to riff on good movies, which I think is.
But that's okay, because everything can be made fun of. That's the point that I was trying to make in terms of Mutant, which was it's a good movie. You can make fun of it, but. But at the time, that was really something else. Why would you build the brain on the outside? But Trumpy is from one of those movies. I mean, Pod People's just bad. Yeah, Pod People's horrible.
It's just bad. Somebody wanted to make a horror movie. Somebody wanted to make E.T. They came together with about $12. And that's the perfect Mystery Science Theater 3000 movie. Trumpy. Pod People.
Pod People.
If you don't know what Mystery Science Theater 3000 is or Riff Tracks is,
you
should. If you are watching the show, if you are even slightly interested in any of the topics we cover, you will enjoy Mystery Science Theater 3000 and Riff Tracks. You're welcome for the plug, guys.
They still don't care.
That's fine. We'll do a show on them.
Oh, yeah.
Can we do a public access show about a show that started itself on public access?
Sure.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah. So we're sort of like it's a show within a show. It's sort of like
Seinfeld.
It's like showception.
Ooh.
Mind blown. See, we managed to find something to say about Trumpy. See?
Yeah, there you go.
All right. Number four. Once again, M. Night Shyamalan makes the list. Woohoo! Because damn it, he deserves it. And if you don't think so, watch Lady in the Water. Seriously.
Don't listen to him.
Watch Lady in the Water. And if you don't know what the phrase self-indulgent tripe means, you will when you watch Lady in the Water. So number 4, as the number 4 worst alien in film are the aliens from M. Night Shyamalan's Signs. they're allergic to water. So they invaded a planet literally full of it. Like even just vapor in the atmosphere.
I think when they were deciding on what planet to invade, they just kind of like went like this and threw a dart at them.
Just right at the map of the galaxy.
Oh, that one.
You know, and this is, you know, this is sort of another one of these kinds of horror movies where it's about atmosphere and then, you know, there's no real payoff.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, I think, yeah, M. Night Shyamalan had two good movies in him. I think it was The Sixth Sense had a good payoff at the end.
Yeah, that was good.
Unbreakable had a good payoff at the end. I think personally. I think Unbreakable is an underrated film.
Okay.
But again, this is I'm not sure if that
we're
was
talking about
was
aliens.
was that before or after Science?
And it was before.
Yeah. But the point is, the payoff at the end of that movie works.
Right.
The payoff at the end of The Sixth Sense works.
Right.
But
But not for Science.
Yeah.
They're allergic to water.
And they invade Earth.
it's
Not-
complete. Not to get all wonky or something, but I'll get all wonky. One of the funny things about speculative biochemistry, anything that could be allergic to water would probably melt before it managed to be a menace on our planet. So basically, we'd be running from ammonia puddles.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, what were they, like, silicon-based? Because then, I mean, that doesn't even make any sense, because that would be resistant to water. So, like, how are they? Nobody thought that through.
No.
I can't, no, there was never a point in the production where somebody said, we need to explain this.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, and we're going to put our signs in crops, by the way, that are constantly being sprayed down by
Water.
irrigation systems.
and a silicon-based life form would actually freeze.
Yeah. Solid. Well, or would it be? Yeah, because now we're going to get sort of, now you're talking about wonking. I think the explanation is for a silicon-based life form to behave the same way as a carbon-based life form. The solvent would have to be ammonia instead of water. So wouldn't it be? Yeah, I forget? Yeah, ammonia would have to be much colder or much warmer for ammonia to be a liquid.
Silicon would have to be much warmer, and ammonia would have to be much colder.
Now you know why the movie sucked, people.
As the producers didn't even think this much through to it. Like they're just non-water based.
Taking the science out of
They're
science
made out of
fiction.
wonderflonium. They're whatever. People will like it. They're allergic to water. It means the aliens can't harm us. They'll leave the movie feeling better about themselves. I can defend ourselves with a hose. You get the same sort of ending with War of the Worlds. Any of the film adaptations,
That's kinda
or
cool, though.
even the original novel. But you got to kind of wonder, wouldn't they be prepared? The aliens, wouldn't they be prepared for like some sort of
A virus?
or something
Maybe.
that would attack
Maybe,
them?
maybe they just overlooked it because it's just a tiny little virus.
I guess, but wouldn't they have
worked
experienced
in
that
War of
in
the
their
Worlds.
history? That's
Maybe
what I'm
not.
saying.
Not necessarily, because don't
Those
forget,
things could have been wiped out on their planet a long time
when
ago.
Europeans settled the North American continent, they brought diseases that had never
never
been
ever-
in the Americas, and there was
never
no
encountered.
Yeah, but
natural
we're
immunity.
talking about, once again, the science. We're talking about a civilization capable of interstellar travel.
Right.
Well,
They know about microbiology.
But had they wouldn't be able to know what was there until they'd actually landed on Earth.
Right, but wouldn't they check first?
Nah.
Or wouldn't they put themselves in like biosuits to protect themselves?
they're just
to go
going
in?
to
Like,
use
wouldn't
their
they
P-38 space modulators.
I'm just saying, wouldn't they protect themselves before they went? It's the same thing with science. Wouldn't they afford themselves some kind of protection
Yeah, probably.
going in? Like, wouldn't they know? Gee, look at all that blue down there. Crap, it's
Yeah.
all H2O. We're allergic to that crap.
Number 3.
Anyway, yes, number 3. My personally most detested favorite. The aliens from Contact. So they build a machine. So aliens send a message. They go to the trouble of sending a message. Like the aliens, 30 light years away, have detected our radio signals. So again, we're back on the same subject matter. They detected our radio signals, fired it back at us, along with a code to build a machine so we could go visit them. And when we go visit them, they just appear as one of us to us to say, well, we're watching you and we'll come and see you later on sometime.
I waited 3 hours for that payout.
Okay.
And not even an anal probe.
Seriously, where was the anal probe?
There's a
Not that I would
Watching
wish
that movie.
I guess, I don't know. Well, I think Jodie Foster got enough of that in The Accused. That was the most
Ouch.
tasteless joke you will ever
Ouch.
see.
Okay. Number 2.
That was low brow even.
Man, that was low for you,
That
bro.
was bad.
That was
bad.
even for you. That was
I'd
pretty
like
low.
to apologize to every woman I have ever known for that joke right now.
Well, you
Let's
should.
Just get that off.
Number 2. Moving on quickly.
Number 2, Station, from Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. Because in the sequel to a film about time travel, you of course want to introduce the afterlife and aliens who also live in the afterlife and not at all deal with time travel again. And in addition to all of those bad ideas, all swimming together in the same movie, it could only say one word. Its word was a word from the English language, and they tried to have the characters say it in order to coin it as a phrase that people were going to then catch on and start saying, like they did with excellent and,
Right, and it
and
didn't
bogus
work.
and all of those things. I mean the word from the first movie worked because it was sort of a satire of that
Right.
Southern California, valley surfer dude, way of speaking, and I don't know if there was anything they added
Right.
to that first film that wasn't really around before, but it didn't seem like there was, and then this,
Right.
they sort of created this ugly little turd monster. Who was 2 turd monsters that could form together
Station!
into one really big turd monster that could somehow make them better at playing music. Or
Station.
something like that. I don't know. I mean, I mean, Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, I think in the end, kind of an underrated film.
Yeah, it was all right.
Death stole the show.
Yeah, he was great.
The sequences, where they have to choose their eternities and hell. I mean, all of that stuff was pretty funny. But that's actually that would have been a good one for our movie sequels
Yeah.
episode.
Yes.
How not to make a movie sequel. Did you watch the first one? First one was about time travel. But whatever. I'm sure Keanu Reeves is still cashing the checks.
Oh yeah. Numero uno.
Number 1, the worst alien in film, Mac from Mac and Me.
You mean McDonald's and me.
Yes, McDonald's and Me. It's a thinly veiled, shameless marketing attempt disguised as a thinly veiled ripoff of E.T. There is literally a sequence where a dance party breaks out in the middle of a McDonald's while people are munching on their fries and eating their Big Macs and drinking their Cokes. Did I mention they're at McDonald's? You need to remember that they're at McDonald's because somebody at McDonald's
'Cause
thought it
they're
would be a
telling
good
ya.
idea to bankroll this film.
They're
It
telling
was
you.
a good time for the great taste.
Hey, E.T. was great for the sales of Reese's Pieces.
Yeah, M&M's are still kicking themselves for that one, aren't they?
Yeah. So I mean, the urban legend is that M&M's turned it down and then somebody got fired.
Right.
And that, but I've always been a Reese's Pieces guy anyway, so I'm always in that camp. Well, just like I'm in the camp of that Spider-Man's mutation should have always been part of his, or it's the web slinging.
Well,
should have
I
always
was in part of his mutation.
I realize I'm in the minority. I just
Yes.
have to accept that.
Yes.
E.T. is with us today, by the way.
right.
We can get a
Say
shot.
hello to E.T.
He likes flowers. Bring him some flowers.
Yeah.
He does like flowers. He does like flowers. His
You know he's a
fingers-
botanist?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a botanist. He's a botanist. He's part part of the now canon in Star Wars.
Yes, that's right. Because they showed up in the Senate.
Yeah, so I guess E.T. gets an honorable mention for our best list. I
Yes.
think also. I
Yes.
mean that's
Yeah. What a great segue, Steve.
into our best list. Thank you.
Woohoo!
I didn't even plan that. We don't sound stunted and improvised at all today.
Isn't that what this show's all about?
I don't know. I
Always
didn't-
stunted and improvised?
I didn't even rehearse my intros, which is why there weren't any. Number 5 on our best aliens list from Doctor Who: The Daleks.
Because Doctor Who had to show up somewhere.
We had to put Doctor Who on the list, but and again, this is sort of another one of those monsters, or aliens, they're sort of destroying everything in their path. They're powerful, they're everywhere, and they will stop at nothing to destroy everything that isn't them.
And yet the funny thing is, without their shell, they're about the weakest thing in the universe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're a little. But I think that's. But that makes for good storytelling.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, for me personally, I think it was at the end of season 10, or the second season with the 10th Doctor, where they were in the alternate universe where the Cybermen showed up, and then the Daleks showed up with the Genesis arc, and then the finale was the Cybermen fighting the Daleks, and I think that was a pretty excellent moment for any even like a just sort of an armchair Whovian like myself.
Plus, the funny thing is, I mean, if you think about it, it probably wasn't intended that way originally, but the Daleks are almost the conflict between the Daleks and the Time Lord, which probably wasn't even thought of until, I don't know, Peter Davison's time maybe. That led up to the single most defining event of the 50 years of the show, when the Time War.
Oh yeah.
So it's like I mean, when you get right down to it, the Daleks go from being,
And let's mention like a really cheesy special effect, like just this boxy rolling thing with a plunger on it. I mean,
but yeah, they go from being, one mad scientist pet project to help his people survive, to being the second most powerful race in the universe.
Right. Yeah, no, and I mean they're pop culture icons in Britain. Mm-hmm. I mean, in the same way that I think like stormtroopers are in the United States.
Right.
I mean the concept of hiding behind the sofa from the Daleks is a cultural idiom in England. They because you're scared the Daleks are coming. As children, because Doctor Who, almost kind of a pulpy horror show at times.
Yeah.
They definitely. I mean, I think we all remember the episode Blink. Scary angels. And again, we're talking about a franchise with probably more videoed content than just about anything else on these lists. I mean, there's been so much Doctor Who, and like 3 generations of nerds.
Yeah.
Didn't really make it to the States until the 70s with the Tom Baker episodes. Although Tom Baker's my personal favorite, just because that's what we grew up on.
Let's do with the scarf and the...
Yes, the hair and the scarf. That's all you have to know.
Yep. That's the guy I remember.
But yeah, no, the Daleks and Doctor Who and sort of, and very, very British.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's why they make the list.
Even more so in the new series, and that doesn't seem to hurt it at all.
Definitely, I think. And incidentally, actually the Daleks bumped anything from Star Wars off the list because we had Jabba the Hutt and Chewbacca as contenders.
Kicked off.
And the Daleks beat out Jabba the Hutt and Chewbacca from Star Wars, which I found surprising.
Yeah.
And almost, I mean, clearly our friends are a bunch of commies who don't love America.
Of course.
I
think it's all that anti-Lucas backlash.
Something like that. Yeah, I don't know. Doctor Who hasn't really ever let anybody down.
True.
Either that, or there's just so much content it's too diluted and it can't.
Yeah.
Something like that. Number 4. This is going to come to no one's surprise, but Spock. Spock. More MSD jokes. Spock makes the list for 2 really important reasons. First of all, he was one of the first, maybe the first, friendly alien in science fiction popular culture. I mean, here he was. Gene Roddenberry was making a show where he wanted to show that people from all cultures were working and living together in the future. And he had all of these different cultures represented in the crew, but he also had an alien.
Right.
And they needed to do something that was cheap for a makeup effect that they could repeat every episode. And so just give him pointed ears and change his eyebrows a little bit. But that's since become iconic. And of course, that's also representative, I think. I mean, Spock almost represents all aliens from science fiction that are otherwise human with just some sort of ridge or bump. So, everything from Star Trek, the Bajorans, the Klingons.
Of course, Spock in and of himself was a character. They tried to, with Troy and then B'Elanna Torres and all that, they tried to get back that whole half alien thing, and it never quite worked except maybe with Data. But it's like Spock is interesting because he's not really part of either culture.
Well, yeah, that was something that Data was definitely the Spock of Next Generation,
But he's an out. But the thing about him, I mean, he is truly an alien, even in the
Right, because
general societal
doesn't
sense.
really belong to either culture.
And there you get some, and again, ample fodder for storytelling.
Yes.
And each of the aliens in Star Trek, I think, an attempt to sort of say this represents some aspect of humanity, that humanity has either overcome or strive to or something like that. Because I think the Vulcans sort of started out as being a criticism of being too logical, too scientific, and later on sort of, especially in the fandom, becomes sort of an ideal to strive for.
Yeah.
And Spock, I mean, they're superior to human beings in terms of they live longer, they're physically stronger, they tend to be more intelligent, but they value peace and exploration and knowledge above all things. So I think in that sense the Vulcans became a goal to strive for as opposed to. But it all centers on that character. And I think Zachary Quinto was some epic casting.
Yeah, he did a great job.
I mean, I think he even looked the part. I mean, he was, that would be, that is my modern, or what, to sell action figures or tickets to girls who want to gush over somebody. I think Zachary Quinto was probably
That's a good choice.
an excellent choice. So yeah, number 3.
But wait,
What?
Han Solo didn't make the list?
Han Solo is not an alien. Again, we had this argument.
Our friend Jared decided that Han Solo should be on the list.
Look, I understand that he lives in a galaxy.
He's not from Earth, so he's an alien.
A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. However, if you subscribe to the Founders theory, all of those humans were spread throughout the universe by some other species anyway.
Yes, indeed.
From the Delta Quadrant.
Yes.
Or something. So that was, and they technologically evolved more rapidly. I mean, what is a long time ago? A long time ago could be 100 years.
Right.
Yeah.
It's very, very non.
Although, and of course, here's a fan theory for you. It was actually 3 billion years ago.
Huh.
Or it was 3 billion and what is Star Wars now? 25
something like that.
years, something like that. Yeah, 3 billion years old. Here's how I'm going to frame it for you. As we've established, E.T.'s species are a part of the Star Wars universe. They're canon.
Right.
They appeared in a film. They belong to that universe.
Right.
In the promotional material for E.T., in the trailers and in a lot of the print ads, he was described as being 3 billion miles from home.
Okay.
Okay. Now, the only galaxy that's 3 billion miles from our galaxy, or 3 billion light years, sorry, not miles. 3 billion miles isn't very far at all. No, 3, sorry.
Light years.
Let me rephrase that. That's like the orbit of Uranus.
Go on, please.
Just joke writes itself.
Right to the gutter. Right to the gutter.
Right to the gutter. Okay, the only galaxy 3 billion light years from our galaxy is the Andromeda Galaxy. It's our closest galaxy, our sister galaxy, if you will. 3 billion light years away. It's the only one that distance, and it's the only one no other galaxies are closer. So that means that the Star Wars galaxy is in fact the Andromeda Galaxy, meaning that one could make the argument that the Star Wars films are in fact transmissions that have just gotten here from 3 billion years ago.
That means it's not Lucas's fault.
It's not Lucas's fault, because sometimes life just sucks.
All right.
Or maybe they're beamed into his brain by an
Those
invisible pink
darn
laser.
imperial revisionist historians.
Number 3.
Number 3, the Predator.
Yep.
And I mean, what is there to say? He's the Predator.
Yeah.
And a guy who, we saw Aliens and we saw Predator and we said, we want to see those two fight. We want the Predator to win because he's got all those cool toys. Like, you're almost rooting for the Predator. I think, well, definitely in Predator 2.
Yeah,
and
certainly.
Alien versus Predator, and Alien versus Predator 2.
The
And
Predator's
in
just
fact, in fact, in every movie, the Predator's in, you're
the
rooting
ultimate badass.
for him
Yeah.
because they're terrible movies and you just want him to kill everybody so it'll end. Except for the first one.
Except for the first one.
Except for the first one, which
but he is awesome.
which
He is
I
the
find
Predator.
which I find as in and of itself as a film really good, because how does the Predator, he uses high tech
Yeah.
to hide and hunt. And so Schwarzenegger's character, I think his name was Dutch in the movie.
Goes all low
he
tech.
goes low tech and he beats the Predator. He deactivates the Predator's camouflage with a bow and arrow. He makes himself invisible to the Predator by covering himself in mud. And I think, but it was a cool monster.
Yeah.
It was a cool effect. People have been ripping off that weird claw pincer mouth thing ever since then. So I think, and that's almost could go higher on the list if not for our last two entries. Number 2, The Thing, from John Carpenter's The Thing, and in my opinion the original. But here's a good example of a monster that changes.
Yeah.
You don't know what's going to happen. It's going to, and again, it uses other life to as a host. To create something
again,
else.
that's
It's sort of
really
almost
scary,
another movie where the practical effects of the day were used really well to sort of scare everybody. It's almost like a movie. He could almost be on the monster list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, other than the fact that
Other
it's an
than from
alien.
space.
But again, but I think that first movie, the original version from the 50s, I liked a lot too, just because it's scary.
Yeah.
Well, you never really know what it is to begin with. I mean, you're pretty sure it's got like spider legs. That's about the most you can tell.
And just because it can change its shape, and so you never know what it is, where it is, and that's what makes it so terrifying.
Exactly. It's another one of those situations where it's scarier what you don't see.
Right.
And then when you do see this like hideous monster,
And that makes a great movie too, though. Is what you don't see is what terrifies you.
And of course, the movie itself is all paranoia. I mean, it's like the whole opening scene is like, what the hell happened here?
It's almost like a metaphor for the Cold War, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe. Probably not.
Everything was in the 50s.
Communism. Well, I don't know. We're speaking more of the 80s version, but even then. And on a similar note, our number 1 entry on the list, and there was no contest on this.
This one blew everything
won
away.
hands down. I think even if we tried a larger sample size, if we asked more people who got me both, this would still win. The Alien, otherwise known as the Xenomorph from the Alien franchise. And again,
terrifying. I saw this movie when I was a kid. It was on HBO at like 1 o'clock in the morning.
Oh yeah, no, I remember watching it retroactively after seeing Aliens, which is kind of scary, but it's more of an action film. And probably the best sequel ever made. I think we covered that.
I saw it before Aliens came out, but it was like, it was that thing, it was on HBO at like 1 o'clock in the morning, and I stayed up. My mom let me stay up to watch this creepy alien movie, and I didn't want to go back to sleep. It was terrible.
Yeah, it was terrifying.
Horrifying.
Again, monster kept changing shape, and is what you don't see. And then when they finally show it, and that guy's in that sort of, and H.R. Geiger, it was the art, what do I want to say? Helped create it. He was also the lead artist on the production. Is very good at coming up with really sort of creepy aliens and monsters that sort of get at you from some deep psychological level because it looks like something human.
Yeah.
Well, plus, I mean,
just distorted. I mean, let's face it. There's, it is phallic in a certain way. I mean, there are definitely what part of it, what makes it scary is the it's almost like a rape metaphor.
Yeah.
Because
exactly.
it slams into your mouth and it plants the egg. The actual birthing process kills the host.
Oh yeah, it violates you in all kinds of ways.
And it's creepy. It's got that spidery thing. And it grabs your face.
That's just it. The movie starts out as a thing that jumps on your face, and then it's this thing that comes out of its chest, and then it keeps getting bigger. And
I mean, it's like people joke about anal probes, but that's basically the exact fear.
Yeah, exactly. And that definitely speaks to something primal. And then in terms of monsters and all of its sequels, and just the place it occupies in popular culture. I mean, it is just everywhere.
Again, like if you going back to my my Godzilla theory, which was if I hold up a picture of Godzilla and hold up a picture of, say the Balrog or something else, go to the mall and show 20 people, what's this?
Yeah,
everyone's going to go, that's Godzilla. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or call it a demon.
Right. It's the same thing with the alien.
Right. Well, you can show the alien and people are going to go, That's the alien.
Yeah, if I showed a picture of Greedo and the alien, like some people would get Greedo,
Yeah.
like most of the nerds,
But
but everybody knows what the alien is.
The interesting thing about the alien, too, is it's like, you know, we talk about, we have intelligent monsters, we have monsters that you cannot tell with it, because some of them seem to be
Animalistic and some
intelligent
seem to be
some-
smart.
Yeah, and then until, you know, the prequel,
Well, the thing with
which
like
Prometheus,
like
which
the
was not very good, but, you know.
I think like, with the first Alien, I think was designed to be a horror movie.
Yeah.
And the sequels and such were sci-fi movies, so the
Yeah, I mean,
the
and
feel
the
was
second,
different.
The second one's still got that feeling of dread, though,
But it's-
almost like
but-
Starship
but
Troopers.
But
in
it's
that
still
sense.
kind of.
Well, that was what they tried to do with
sci-fi.
Not quite the
That's
same
what they
le-
tried to do with the third movie. They tried to go back to the horror
It
roots
didn't
of
really
it,
work out.
but nobody wanted to see that. We all liked Aliens. Plenty.
Right.
What are you going to do? Anyway, that brings our show to an end. Thank you for joining us, and especially thank you for us stumble through our intros and outros and jokes, as I'm doing right now. I want to thank Andy DeSisto for contributing some of our gags for today and some of our observations. I want to thank Jamie in the booth. And I want to say a special thank you to John Sullivan for providing us with all of these wonderful props.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Sullivan.
And action figures from his
Indeed.
office. And
Remember, Godzilla should have been #1.
yeah, no, we shouldn't.
Yes, yes.
Have a good night,
Yes,
everybody.